All right, today we're going to be discussing Werewolf by Night. This card has taken the meta by storm. It's been a ton of fun to play. Cozy, what have been your thoughts on Werewolf by Night thus far?
Yeah, oh man, talk about a card that it just stat-wise obviously makes sense, right? Like just he has incredible stat-wise. I think he's fun. I think he's unpredictable. He fits into a good amount of decks that I thought he was going to fit into. Nothing about him surprised me outside of one synergy, and that is he just doesn't work with Elsa. You just don't want him to be played with Elsa. I thought maybe there'd be something there. There's definitely not, in my opinion. But other than that, man, I love him. I think he's a great card. I can't wait to break him down more. What about yourself?
Actually, it's funny you mentioned Elsa because I had been experimenting with him with Elsa, and I'm like, I kind of knew the answers on a couple things. I'm like, hey, if I play Elsa and like something else, will he bounce over and get the buff? He does not get the buff, right? And then like he starts to clog locations awkwardly, right? So there's like, because like you play a card, then he comes over as the fourth. They're like, damn it, like it's not working like I wanted to. So you're right to identify that Elsa's not actually synergistic. But I've actually really enjoyed the card a lot. And first of all, from a win rate perspective, it's hovering in like the mid 50s, right? Which is good. That's where you want to see it. It's getting lots of play, but it's not like overbearing because I think it has a lot of interesting checks and balances here. I think it's a really nicely designed card. First of all, extremely high ceiling. Extremely high ceiling. I've seen like I've been playing with like kind of like that old like blood Glenny Stone, which I called it, right? Which is kind of that the Jane Foster yellow jacket wasp style list. You get a list like that miracles on turn 6, and Werewolf's just like boom, 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 boom. He's bouncing all over the place. Yeah. And the +2 adds up pretty fast, Cozy. I've been seeing some heavy numbers. Like, what are you getting him to on average?
Oh, dude, and the decks I'm playing, legit 15 plus almost every time. Like, that's what's so crazy. 12, 15. It doesn't really matter when you play him down 3 or 4 because, you know, even by turn 5 and 6, those are the moneymaker turns that you can really get him cooking. It's not a card like, I don't have a great example, but a card that you need to get out there right away to start getting them. Yes, it can feel bad, but in some instances, even when I was playing the Thor one, I'd play Thor on 3 to make sure I got the hammer and a good rotation at least if I didn't have Jane, and then I would play Werewolf, even though I was missing out on the plus stat going over from playing the Thor, right? So, listen, dude, I love everything about this card. I really do. I think that he works in a couple of decks particular that are just next level. And he's a big brain card. He does take some thought process. He's not the easiest. But Alex, right away, he's a card that is going to age perfectly because it's on reveal. They nailed it here, right? Even if Cosmo blocks it, he gets the +2. I mean, that's beautiful. It's so great. You can play it into nowhere. It gets +2. That's great. The thing I don't like, though, is how it resolves. So if I play Nico, that can turn a card into a demon, and I play Bast, it is going to be a demon, not Bast. Even though she does her on reveal before the demon, Werewolf will not bounce. Same goes for Rogue and Mystique.
That's a huge scam. There's 2 other cards that do that too. That I was like, really? Hulkbuster? Like, you're not letting it bounce on Hulk? I was like, come on, it's gotta bounce on Hulkbuster. It's an on-reveal card. I understand, like, it merges, it becomes the other card technically, right? But, like,
you're playing an on-reveal.
It's gotta move.
You're playing an on-reveal. Yeah. That must be a bug. I feel like it has to be a bug because you're playing an on-reveal.
Yeah, even Luke's Bar. I had a game Luke's Bar. I played something, whatever it was in the Luke's Bar, and I'm like, hey, he's got to move. He's got to bounce over. And it just didn't bounce over. I was like, well, I just played it on reveal. Like, I would have won Luke's Bar, and it just didn't work. I was like, is that a bug? Like, is that a bug, or is that actually the design? Yeah. It seems so inconsistent. If I play, Black Widow into, which I think it was Black Widow. If I play Black Widow into Luke's Bar, this damn wolf better jump over to Luke's Bar. I don't care. It should just do it.
All I know is the 2 lists that I was playing a lot. The Jane Foster list is great. I think it just works out really well with how that deck wants to play anyway. Sadly, he's really good in Loki. It makes sense. You have Snow Guard that pushes out cards. Sentinel was a really cheeky play, right? Because you just keep on getting those cards back. So that was like really fun to boost up his numbers. He's performing well there. I'm telling you, I think that at a competitive format, now that Mobius is gone, Bounce List is where it's at for the biggest brain plays. I was able to have some of the most crazy swing turns I've ever done in Marvel Snap on stream with Werewolf by Night. That almost always felt good to do, right? Like, no matter what I was doing, he was gaining power, and I was ending up with 20 plus power on a Werewolf, and I had Darkhawk to handle the other lane, right? So, to me, I love the thought process of dodging things, trying to stop them. I love the idea of bouncing him around and the opponent has no idea where it's going to finish off. Dude, I just think he's good. I think he is still getting not all the respect that he deserves as a 3 cost.
Buddy, first of all, I know you're telling the truth because I watched it live. For those who don't know, Cozy's been streaming again. Absolutely streaming again, and he was on fire with that bounce deck. And you're right, it was crazy, especially when you beast, everything's discounted, and then you get to play all these cards with on reveals again, and it's just like boom, 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 and it's just bouncing all over the place. And it's actually a pretty satisfying bounce. It kind of does like a little flippy thing, a little bit, almost like it's like they kind of took the Spider-Man effect and just said, let's just change it around a little bit and make it a little more fun. Yeah, I really like it. It's good, and for me. You have to know, I played it in Surfer. I played a lot of Surfer.
Dude,
I played it in Loki.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good in Loki. I really liked it in Loki for the exact same reasons you did. Loki has so many on-reveal cards. I actually didn't play Sentinel. That's when you're like, Sentinel, I'm like, oh man, that's a good idea. I hadn't actually played Sentinel in my Loki deck. Makes sense because you're also keeping your hand popped up for the Loki play too. Cozy, you're always onto something. And then anyways, one thing I will say though is in Surfer, I thought he was great. The idea of having him come back to the Surfer location, which is often like a place that needs some space, right? It needs some love because Surfer itself's a little underpowered. It's not getting its own buff naturally, and Werewolf by Night does that. And but I had to cut Brood out. Brood had to get cut. It was too clunky. It just didn't do it.
It took me like 2 hours of my stream to make the Surfer list that finally felt great with him, because then I was like, okay, maybe I put Brood in there as an either-or situation, but, like, truly, this guy needs the space. Like, he truly needs the space to work. The only, like, people were saying Thanos, I love him in Thanos, yes, you have to have Killmonger at that point. Like, you cannot deal with those stones. You're going to be filled up way too fast. Surfer was the same way. Like, it was such a complicated list because you wanted to look at, the perfect mixture of on-reveal 3-cost cards, but then also, how can you really make sure reliably that you're going to end up winning without Brood, a mainstay of the deck? So what were some of the 3-cost cards that you landed on?
Well, okay. We're gonna derail a little bit. Because while I was testing Werewolf extensively, there was a card that I kept playing that it was by far my favorite of the night. And I want to talk about it, maybe my favorite cost, but okay, I'll exclude it here. We'll talk about it right now. I played so much Negasonic with Werewolf by Night.
Really?
How good is Negasonic now, by the way?
Yeah, okay, so like almost 2 separate conversations, because I feel like
I know we're like derailing hard, but you just, it's inspired. We got to talk about it now.
So I didn't actually like go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs for Negasonic in the Surfer deck, right? Like just in that deck, because of the way priority worked, kind of messed me up too much. But her as a card, yo,
seriously, it's good. And I disagree. I thought it was so good in Surfer.
Really? Okay.
I was crushing guys with it. I was like, oh man, they don't turn 6 Negasonic. I had initiative often. I don't know why. I guess I was playing a little greedy. I was playing Maximus, so I was playing greedier cards.
Yeah. I like Maximus too. Yep.
Yeah, like I had Negasonic, and like with Sarah out, you're just like, Negasonic a location, get wrecked, noob. Like it's just like, it's so good. She survives. She doesn't die. She's like, hey, give me that +2. Boom. It's so good.
Yeah, late game. Oh.
So I was doing Werewolf by Night in this Negasonic deck with like Maximus, Polaris, and others because like I want the verticality now. Because if you're not playing Brood, you need to win somehow. You need power. And so like I wanted to be able to like sneakily trade locations with Negasonic, if only just be like, hey, I'm gonna add some power there, but at least if they play there, they have to commit 2 cards.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I really liked the mind game side. And again, it's like what we keep talking about. This is like we were talking about with Ms. Marvel. We were talking about it with Werewolf. These macro style cards that are just not like, it's just more power. No, you have to think. It's about, you got to think a turn ahead about how you're going to position Negasonic for how you're going to close the game. Man, I love Negasonic, and I think it worked really well in a Surfer shell with the Werewolf.
Yeah, for sure, dude. I felt like if you go down to the bottom and we sort by power, dude, I just plugged in the power 3. Polaris, Spider-Man, and Maximus. Those 3 alone, it's like they're going to win one lane, and I'll let Werewolf win the... Werewolf can win his own lane. Like, he's going to do his own thing. He can do great there. And then, dude, I didn't commit to it enough. I want to play more of it. But I was even playing the new stat line wave. I was like 3-5. Sign me up to get Sarah out a turn earlier. And then at that point, maybe you can plug in, dare I say, Eliath in the deck, whatever, to help out with Werewolf at the last turn of the play. I ended up cutting wave, but I was like, you know, a 3-5 boost up later that you can also get the Sarah out there. It made sense stat-wise. And on reveal.
I need more time with Wave. I need more time. Like it's what I think you're right. I think there's more to Wave than the initial nerf might like kind of make it seem out to be. It is definitely a nerf, but at the same time, like Silver Surfer, can you make it work? Getting that Sarah on turn 5. I always feel like my hand's empty though, right? Like
Yeah.
on turn 6. I don't
Yeah.
feel like I'm holding many cards in Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
So like Sarah on turn 4, I don't know, is it really that beneficial? But then again, like what are you playing on turn 4 that's better than Sarah anyways,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like, it's kind of an interesting idea there. But honestly, I think Werewolf by Night and Surfer was a ton of fun for me, and that's what I did it. And it's just been good. And the other place, I got to talk about him move. Like,
oh yeah, dude, right? It kind of worked. Like it move will always continue to be such a hard deck to pilot because you're coming back to it after being like, it's like going out and trying to, you know, shoot hoops with your buddies and you haven't played in 2 years. You're gonna probably not be that good. So people play move decks again and they're like, it's okay. It's like, no, you probably just suck at piloting it. What'd you think about him in move?
first of all, you're right, because we had the move season with Ghost Spider where we were practicing move. I've not played much move since.
Yeah.
So like I'm playing this Werewolf by Night and I'm like roping. I'm like, and everyone's like, stop roping the guy. I'm like, I'm not trying to. I don't know what's going on. Like I'm trying to do the math here, and I'm not a math teacher. I think that has been established. One of the sayings at my stream is we just don't do the math, right? Mm-hmm. It's like we always believe in the heart of the cards. We never believe in the math of the cards. That's that's what we do. But so it's like, it was good, honestly. And it just, there were so many natural on reveals, even in move, but like but there's some awkward ones too. It's like Doctor Strange kind of felt awkward to play sometimes.
Yeah, I got rid of him.
Really want to am I pulling where I don't want to pull Werewolf by Night. He's my biggest card. So like, I think there's some tuning there, but at the same time, there is some serious synergistic stuff. Like if you can get that, like a really nice Hulkbuster, Forge, like I was playing this list with Forge, multiple man, Hulkbuster, which is so greedy, but hey, I got Chavez there, so I'm drawing what I need. And then what I did was I have this beautiful chonky, multiple man bouncing around, stuff like that. But then at the end of the day, right? You have your Wolf out, you do a nice little cloak play, he bounces that one time already, right? He's already a 3/5. And then you Heimdall. What happens? He comes on over. He's a 3/7, but it's a Heimdall. He's 3/7 with Heimdall in the Heimdall location. That's a chonky lane. Yeah. And then suddenly it's like you're pushing all this power with the multiple man, and the Heimdall location is legit.
Yeah, we talked about this last week. We're like, wait, Heimdall finally gets love, and it worked, man. It worked. I ended up even putting Storm in the deck because I loved the idea of just like, all right, I'll get rid of that left location, and I'm just gonna bank on my Heimdall winning it out with the right location, move stuff over. And dude, the amount of natural on reveals, Iron Fist, boom, done, easy, no problem. Ghost Spider works. There's a lot of on reveals that can get him cooking pretty quickly, and not to mention just the Kraven synergy that works out too. Like Kraven's so cool now because like not only are you boosting up your Kraven, but most games now, dude, the enemy is also boosting up your Kraven, and they don't even mean to, but they're like, damn, I kind of have to go to that lane, right? Like. It feels fantastic all the way around. Yeah, I like it.
The key thing about Kraven too, which is fantastic with Werewolf by Night, and like this is, I know you say, Alex, you're really reaching, calling it a synergy, but listen, if you play Werewolf by Night on Kraven, right, and then you Heimdall, the Kraven gets buffed with the Werewolf moving. Yep. And then does the bounce. Yep. So you're kind of double dipping there, right? Obviously, like the Werewolf doesn't get buffed from the move like a multiple man or Kraven itself, of course, or what's it called, Human Torch. Yep. But you're buffing Kraven by 2 because you're with him, and then you're just piecing out. You're just piecing out, and you're going to help the Heimdall. Like, it actually is cool. And if you can ultimately have your Werewolf land on that Kraven location and then push it, like it's so much added power on turn 6, while also being like hard to predict for your opponent. Like even if they're like, oh, they're gonna Heimdall, like maybe you just don't Heimdall. Maybe you do a Ghost Spider play and then like there's anytime you have multiple options with a move deck. They're always going to respect Heimdall, but they're also going to have to respect the fact that you have an incredibly mobile piece in the Werewolf by Night. So I love his flexibility.
Yeah, I was so sad to see the wave change happen right as he released because, dude, I was like, holy shit, move wave is going to be unbeatable because you now have, they can only play one card, you can only play one card, you Heimdall and Werewolf helps you out, you win. It's over. And then, of course, it was dead on arrival. That was a bit of a sad moment because I loved the way that move wave did work going into turn 5. Had a perfect pairing there. But yeah, dude, love the call out. I think we're going to see more of this deck and more of traditional move, which you love to see. Werewolf by Night, good card, still a good card, and just fun, dude. Fun card too.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I can't wait for our conversation at a couple weeks from now when it's perhaps blowing up out of proportions, because I think its ceiling is pretty damn high. Hopefully it doesn't get nerfed. Anyways, let's move on to our favorite cost cards in October. I said that really awkwardly, but you know what I mean. We're going to be talking about our favorite cards at every single cost for the last month and the past season. I love this conversation. I know that it is by far one of my absolute favorites. I have 2 per cost because I know we might pick some similar stuff, but it's also, we're not saying it has to be the best at every cost. We're just saying our favorite. So, Coccia, I'm going to allow you to do 1 or 2 as well, because this is often a battling point between Coccia and I, but no more than 3, Coccia, because I know you like to cheat sometimes. And like you talk about your 1 cost for 45 minutes. Well, I'm just sitting on mine, just waiting to talk. Coccia, you know what? Out of pure respect, I'm going to give you the first shot at 1 cost. What was your favorite 1 cost cards of the October season?
Yeah, so I have 2 of these that have 2 choices. The rest I had 1, but 1 cost is the one that I had 2 on. So in the season, for the season, I already just said it on mine earlier. I haven't liked the card more. Yeah, Nico is going to occupy my 1 cost slot moving forward. Most likely, I'm going to make her work in all the decks. Every single time people came into the stream with me having Nico in a deck, and they'd be like, you know, why do you have Nico here? It's like, because why not, right? Like, in balance in all these decks, just makes sense. Have good use out of her. If it wasn't her, though, for the double up, how do you not pick Deadpool this season? How do you not pick Deadpool right now with how crazy his decks are going? How good Destroy is to a core against things like Loki? It's got to be Deadpool for me. What about you?
What a cheater, man. You're picking Deadpool and Nico. Meanwhile, you're playing Nico in Deadpool decks, most likely, right? It's like,
pretty much.
You're just double dipping the same deck. You're picking the same card. No, I agree. I mean, Nico was my top pick, too, just because it's so damn fun. And I'm not putting her in every deck. I'm putting her where, you know, and just I'm putting her as a nice flavor splash and so many different things. Like, she's just been really good and just fun. My other card, though, I know you're gonna be like, Alex, seriously? Come on. He just got buffed, though. He just got buffed. It's Uatu! It's Uatu. I played an obscene amount of Uatu during the Twitch rival streams, right? I went like multiple days without sleeping. I went like 72 hours without sleeping, playing multiple like crazy overnighters, and I played tons of Uatu because I'm like, listen, guys, we're on the long haul here. We're gonna be the ones that makes Uatu work. Now I can confirm 2 things. 1, Uatu, complete horse manure. Okay, not a good card, not a good card. But 2, has moments where it's hilarious. Like, okay, so Bar with No Name, okay? You have Uatu in your hand. Bar with No Name reveals on the right side. Turn 1.
So good.
You play him there, right? You play him there. Because then your opponent is like, oh, they know something's there. They're playing Uatu there. And they start throwing power there on turn 2. And then it's Bar with No Name. And you're like, get wrecked, noob. And they retreat in shame. It happened more than once.
No way.
Unbelievable. Like, the fact that you can bait someone into thinking, oh, they have a Uatu. First of all, why the hell are they playing a Uatu? And, oh, they're playing into the right location. I got to go there. And it's like Bar with No Name, or it's something completely catastrophic to their opponent, the opponent. Like, it is actually legitimately funny. But the one thing I found, Cozy, that was awkward was that I often in Conquest didn't actually want to play my Uatu because I didn't want my opponent to know I had it.
Ah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So you always have the leverage kind of throughout the match until you really need to throw out that 2 power stat line.
Yeah, no, 2 power at the time it was 1.
Yeah,
I was
that's
playing
right.
with the crappier Uatu, buddy.
Oh my gosh.
I was talking about Twitch rivals, or not Twitch rivals, the Twitch drops, right? He just got buffed in the last patch. But anyways, yeah, like Uatu. I mean, I love playing him just because it's a meme at this point. I also have the Chuatu variant that you know, I regrettably spent too much.
The dog one, yeah.
The dog is Chuatu. What is get a dog? Get this out of here. These are the worst variants I've ever seen. Not only is he a terrible, unplayable card, just absolutely just garbage to your variants.
Dude, there's no epic variant you can make. I would kill to see the ultimate variant of this guy. You know, like a perfect like chiseled face. Uatu. Yeah. Probably don't see him coming.
He's in the Groot shorts. I don't know if you know that. He's in the Groot shorts.
Yeah. I did, briefly. I admire the love for Uatu that you have. I admire it, and I'm jealous of it because I don't. I love him and Orca, man. Love to see it. I love to see it. 2 cost. Alex, what do you think of your favorite cards here?
Yeah, I want to shout out Elsa just because I thought it was great. I thought it was a really good season pass card. Unfortunately, it got nerfed, but it probably had to. But I want to just throw that out there. But for me, the real 2 costs of the season was Black Widow. I couldn't get enough of it. I played so much Black Widow.
I have Black Widow as well as mine. Yeah, so
really?
we can talk. We can talk together. Yeah, I played the hell out of her. Player bounce decks, player in toxic decks, dude. The Widow's Bite at -1 now. Have fun. It is such a dude. It's just so punishing. It's so good. It feels like she went from literally always not making the cut to consistently making the cut. I think Black Widow. Yeah, I could not agree more.
But I do think there's some suspect programming in the game. I don't know if it's a bug or not. But when you get Black Widow for turn 2 and you play it, almost always on turn 3, The third location is Gamma Lab, almost always.
Yeah,
I
right.
don't know how many,
Oh,
I'm
I
like,
know.
come on, seriously, man? Like,
Yeah. Oh, dude,
why
yeah,
does it have to be Gamma Lab on turn
Mirror
3?
Island. Yeah, Mirror Island.
Yeah,
Altar.
exactly.
Death Altar. Yeah. Stuff
Yeah,
like-
Altar of Death too. It's just always like, come on, really?
Yeah,
That's the way my life works.
I always
90%
think of
the
that
time.
too. Yep. So I like that pick. Good strong pick. I actually had the same thing. I had Elsa into Black Widow. So funny that you said that. And honestly, there wasn't like another one that I was like, ooh, that one. It was those two by a good margin. And I would give I mean, come on. We haven't had enough time. But Ravona, you know, is gonna be a blast. 3 cost, Alex. There's a few options here. You went with Negasonic, yeah?
Yeah, Negasonic is one of my honorable mentions, but the real one for me,
Okay.
the real one, and I know that you are gonna be like, Alex, you just copy me now. We gotta keep the streak alive. Someone's gotta talk about Jean Grey. I've been playing so much Jean Grey lately, and I feel like I'm behind the curve. Like, you fall in love with Echo, and then you convince me Echo is great. I play nonstop Echo, you stop playing Echo. And then you play Jean Grey for months, and then I think you've kind of cooled off Jean Grey lately. Right?
Because I had her in every deck. Eventually I was like, people are going to be like,
I'm
stop
not on
doing
Jean
it.
Grey, and I can't stop playing Jean Grey. So it's
fun.
like, I fell in love with Jean Grey again. So Jean Grey and Negasonic for me have been the absolute god tier cards.
It just blew my mind that like people hated her for so much. Like, it's like, dude, what you do to other decks, you screw players over. Like, completely mess them up. Kitty Pryde has been tamed down. It's like Elsa getting nerfed hurt her a little bit, but even more so. And Angela was a huge kind of nerf to Jean Grey. But what did it do? It hurt her counter even more. It hurt Kitty Pryde even more. And that was the biggest counter to her. So Jean Grey, dude, love to hear you say it, man. It just feels good. Jean Grey, I had as my alternate pick, as always. For me, kind of a weird one. I'm going to go with Hulkbuster. I feel like Hulkbuster is just so good. He's such a great card. He never feels bad going in any card. He saves you space. A 3/5 now is fantastic. You love to see it. I just think he's a good card all the way around, and I love his versatility in different decks to combine with cards with other abilities. You know, having Nico copy the next card that you play, and you do Hulkbuster into Nico, and you get the Nico back at a 1/7. There's just cool interactions with him. I like him a lot.
I can't believe we were even talking about Hulkbuster. This was by far the least played card in Marvel Snap for the longest time. Gets 1 power buffed, a couple additions to the meta, and it's now a legit card. It's now a very legit card, and I mean, I'm all for it. I've always liked Hulkbuster. I think it does a really interesting thing in managing board space, right? Because it's very easy to forget. You only got 12 slots on that board, right? So I really like what it does. And as we move on to cost number 4, I think it's important to also shout out the Rogue. Rogue, I think, is definitely worth a shout out for this past season, too. Rogue was really good. Didn't make either of ours, but Rogue was probably, in terms of meta relevance, one of the absolute most meta-defining 3-drops. For 4, Cozy, I'm going to defer to you here.
Yeah, it is not even close. It's going to be the Man-Thing with one other card, right? So Man-Thing, I had him in a good chunk of my decks as well. Played him fairly often. He won me a ton of different games. Love the playstyle. Think he's a ton of fun. My other one that I have, because we said 2 on some, is going to be Phoenix Force. I ended up falling in love with Phoenix Force, and I think this is a card that's gone from like, oh, it's good in some decks to just being a good card. I think Phoenix Force is now a good card. It works. The deck works pretty good, but this card is only going to get better, and I've been having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, Phoenix Force is definitely fun, but it can feel a little feast and famine, eh? Like, it does have it's like, well, I drew everything horribly, and now oh, look at that. There's, they just killmongered a bunch of stuff, and now I'm resurrecting a raptor. It's like,
yeah, right.
There's a lot of that happens at times, but it's good to see that Phoenix Force is getting a little bit of an opportunity to at least see some experimentation. And the decks are by no means like extremely high win rate, but you know what? Honestly, I've gone against a couple Phoenix Force decks in Conquest, and like, you got to be wary of them. Like, when they get rolling, you're like, I can't do anything to this Phoenix Force multiple man that's bouncing around all over the place. You just can't do nothing, right? Oh, it's like, it's kind of crazy, and you can't Shang-Chi it easily, right? You can't Shadow King it easily. It's so mobile. You have to like soul read their plays half the time. It's a pretty cool card.
She got the ranking. She got me to the top 1,000 alone from the Inferno Tower hot location, man. Oh my gosh, they were playing cards destroying it. I didn't give a rip what they destroyed. I was just Phoenix forcing it back no matter what. Like, that was that's where she gets my big shout out and love. What is your forecast?
The first is Wong. It's been so long since I felt like proud to
Mm,
play Wong, and with the changes to the on reveal archetype, Wong has felt great again. Like honestly, and this has been one of those cards that felt like a really big noob trap for a long time, where it's like you look at it, you're like, how can this not be amazing?
yeah.
And then like you unlock it, and you're like, wait, this card is actually not that good. It's you're in pool 3, you like you get your Wong, and you think it's the ticket to the holy grail of infinite and high rank and rank 1, and he's just not. Like it just was never that. And then so, next thing you know, it, couple changes here, couple buffs there, couple meta shifts there, Cosmo doesn't exist, and Wong is pumping out power. So for me, Wong was definitely number 1. Thoughts on Wong, Cozy?
Yeah, dude, I love him. I was putting Wong in a lot more decks, and people even like a little judgment, like, you got Wong in here. I'm like, dude, he works. He definitely works. This has been the best season to play him probably yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And my second, it's been just a rekindling of my love for Darkhawk. I think that Darkhawk's being slept on huge. I've played a lot of Darkhawk. I feel like it's not seeing or getting much respect. And to be honest with you, I've been playing Darkhawk with Man-Thing. So like I loved your pick there because I think that it works really naturally in those decks. And even before the Mobius nerf, I was playing Zabu and I was not seeing that much Mobius. So it's like
Yeah,
I was
dude.
getting a lot of value from Darkhawk. I thought it was good. I still liked the disruption of the Rockside Korg. I mean, Black Widow getting buffed allows Black Widow to enter some of those decks, if not most of those decks now, right? I don't know, man. I think Darkhawk's actually probably one of the most underrated cards in Snap right now. Like, it's not getting much play, but it should be.
And because it slaps Thanos too, like completely owns Thanos's deck, which you gotta love. What about 5 cost?
Okay. Now, you're going to be like, Alex, you must have been trying so hard not to say this card while you're talking about Wong. It's the White Tiger. White Tiger was, I mean, Wong and White Tiger kind of go hand in hand here. Because like my love for Wong was really amplified by my love for White Tiger, and I think White Tiger was one of my cards last month, and it's crazy because it wasn't even buffed then; it was still just a 5/7, and I still just liked White Tiger. Now it's a 5/8.
Yep.
It puts up serious power. Like it actually out trades significant turn 6 plays. Like I don't know, man. The Tiger Spirit's on fire right now.
Yeah, dude, it's again, it goes back to like you can't put Cosmo in every deck, and so when you start to see the one. I don't care how tall your deck goes and how crazy it is. You see a Wong played out there, maybe even a Mystique after it, or the Ironheart. You're like, I think I'm done. I don't know if I can beat this. Like, I truly don't know. And so, like, dude, 100%, man, especially just because of the lack of the Cosmo right now. 5 cost was interesting this month for me because there's a lot of cards in contention that could kind of maybe make their case. You know, for me, dude, I'm going to go back to the old reliable. Sarah, not only is she back, she's the biggest winner of the recent balance patch by a long shot because of the Mobius change. Dude, there's something so fearful that she puts out on the field, man. Like, if you have your Sarah, you got the keys to the kingdom. In fact, I'm a little sad about the Mobius change because I was still playing Sarah and winning in the Surfer decks, in just Sarah control, Shadow with Luke Cage. It's all perfect with her, man. The thing is, 2 costs will always be her best value because you're cutting the cost by 50%, and we're getting access to so many legit powerful 2-cost cards. God, Sarah's got to be mine.
Yeah, Sarah's amazing, and it's funny. I was playing Sarah a lot too, and I was like, I wasn't seeing Mobius that often, and it's unfortunate. I felt like I was the only one playing Sarah, and I was benefiting from it. Now I think Sarah's definitely on the comeback here, so definitely a good call out there. And one more I just want to shout out to that where I think was another meta staple this season was Vision. I think Vision really benefited from Elsa Bloodstone. I think it was a surprise winner from the overall meta. One that probably goes underappreciated was a 5/7 for a long time, got buffed up to a 5/8. It was perfect for Elsa. It's great in Shuri. I mean, what isn't really right now, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Vision's also been a quiet, really high performer and a really solid card.
Yeah, very good call there. Vision, easily like his best month too as well. 6 costs, man. We they kind of all opened back up. You know what I mean? Like it was kind of closed in with Mobius. You know, She-Hulk was dead, just completely dead. Looking at the entire month, it was tough to say because Thanos is like kind of always my favorite card, like in the game. I just love Thanos, you know. To me personally, though, this was the month of Hela. This was the month of Hela, and you got to throw in the your boy Infinite in there as well. This is the most I ever played Infinite ever in my entire Marvel Snap career was this month, and it was a hell of a month. These are my favorite 6s. Doesn't come close for this month.
I don't want to derail it, but is this the worst Dan hit variant or the best Dan hit variant?
I love it, dude.
Sure.
You know
it's
why
so
I like
good,
it? I think I love it because it's the Infinite. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's doing like the whoa, you know, the effect, and it's this. Yeah, it's so
it looks
good.
so derpy. Yeah, I know. It's so good. It's such a good variant.
Like you could go with like where is it here? Like this one, right? Where it's just like you're fearful for your soul, or slam out this little, Teletubby. I love it. It's awesome.
It is so good. I love it. I love it so much. Yeah, like it's kind of funny. Like you're going towards Infinite and Hella, because like I've been so huge on Infinite for so long, right? I mean, even at Twitch Rivals, right? Like I literally took Infinite to the finals. Like I was one of the only true believers of Infinite. So I'm glad that you're loving the card. And it's funny that you bring up Hella, because my pick was Tribunal. Like, it's kind of crazy to say, like, this is the month I kind of fell in love with Tribunal, not because like I think it's really that good, but because like I needed something different sometimes. I just needed a different play style. And like I loved the idea of this Tribunal style deck that just threw caution to the wind. You just throw down your Invisible Woman, and all the counters don't exist. Like every single counter, like there are so many. Spider-Man, Rogue, Enchantress, Cosmo, they all don't exist. You just win the game every single time. 8Q roll, and you know what? Tribunal, I was gonna say it never let me down. It let me down a lot. But I had a good time doing it.
There's a lot of ways he can win. He is talk about just like he's his own little archetype world, right? Like the Mr. Negatives. Like the game you win, you can crush, dude. And it's always against that opponent that's like, how big can they really get, And then you throw down the Miracle of the Iron Man on the onside. It doesn't even matter where they land, and it's GG's. So yeah, I like it. I respect the pick.
Yeah, one of the things I'll say though, when you play them often, you start to get a feel for like the power ranges. Okay. Like if they're under 24, like you confidently 8-snap. Okay. If they're getting to like 26, 27, 28, you're like, like where does my Iron Man land, right? But sometimes like things fall right and you're throwing up like disgusting points. But like it's kind of funny. The RNG of it really matters. Does Onslaught land with Iron Man and Infinite? Then it's just complete destruction on all sides, right? You're throwing up so many points. But like it's like you start to get this feel of like, hey, where is the balance of power, right? So it's pretty cool. But I'm still searching for that Tribunal deck that doesn't look like a Tribunal deck. Like that doesn't play the Invisible Woman. Like where's the surprise Tribunal deck? That doesn't exist yet.
Not yet. Doesn't exist quite yet.
I think it's time we move on to a very important discussion, and that is the Mobius problem, Cozy. Now, this is it's been basically a point of discussion over the past little while in Marvel Snap, and what happened here was a very significant patch change hit Mobius and Mobius, to the point that like we talk about nerfs. We talk about nerfs all the time, but this wasn't a nerf. This was a coordinated assault on what Mobius and Mobius represents. A complete shift in what this card is capable of doing. A complete identity shift, a paradigm shift of what this card does to the meta. And it is a complicated discussion, because when you have player resources being as scarce as they are, cards being as expensive as they are, and metas shifting as frequently as they can, it can be very difficult to navigate the waters of Marvel Snap and spending your resources. And I think that what happened with Mobius in the patch really shines a light on how difficult it can be being a free-to-play player, how difficult it can be predicting card value, and how difficult it can be to just be someone who invests their currency and not having buyer's remorse. There is so many kind of attack vectors to this problem, Cozy. So I've kind of introed it. I'm going to defer to you on where you want to go from here. But honestly, it's pretty insane. And I'm really shaken at how this change has essentially rippled through the community.
Yeah, it's so crazy too, because it's like, again, I said at the beginning of the podcast and of my side of like, essentially, the track record's been great, right? We're going to have Glenn on here very soon, and I have the utmost respect for Glenn as a person. I think he takes his job very seriously. I think that man wants this game to be balanced to its core, even if that means what happened. I think I've seen on Discord, he knows it was a miss. He knows he wouldn't have done it maybe today. They had to do it in a reaction to how much he was affecting. For me, to me, it's like we all knew he was going to be this powerful, so it's like, I think that... How did we not see it coming? You know what I mean? Like, we knew this effect was going to be so crazy at 2 costs. I'm kind of baffled by... I'm baffled by not doing him as a 2-1 or a 2-1. Not even a 3. I don't even think a 3 cost, but like a tech card with like no power, but he comes with immense ability, right? Because we even were saying he's fallen out a little bit, and then they do it and they kill the card. You take him down to a 2-1, I'm not complaining at all. It's like, hey, guys, he's still doing what he does. You got what you invested in. The one-time shot here is so... it's so bad. Like, if you did 2 turns, I think it's actually fine. Like, at that point, you're like, okay, you can play him out. Like, whatever. He's good. He goes on curve 2-3. It just, you nuked a card that people saved through August, through September. Like, it is completely unacceptable in that standpoint. And we've seen things like this happen before where there's like a bundle and then something gets nerfed. And it's truly, I think there's 2 teams working on their responsibility, not together, right? What this does, though, you look back and you're like, okay, Elsa, Loki, let's take them as an example. They both got nerfed, and you bought them, you're like, damn. But you can't be mad. They're both great. If anything, Loki's better, so your investment went up there. Elsa is still great. It's just, there's got to be some type of protection, whether it's refund and token, and that's a hard system to get in place, but you can do it via mail thing that they have. It's tough, right? Like, do not nerf a card if it's doing terribly, like if it's just messing up the Marvel Snap meta, right? Like, what do you do here?
You're right. Like, there's no easy answer. I think an important consideration too is that OTAs can be done with relative speed, but I think these are locked in like a month in advance.
Yeah.
Right. But then again, if it's locked in a month in advance, like this card's not even like, is it barely a month old? Like, did the change get locked in basically near immediately? So there's a couple things here. There's still red flags, right? It's like, okay, you got to have the leeway, which is hard. Marvel Snap's meta changes incredibly fast. You've had multiple OTAs since the patch is locked in, right? So, like, yes, of course it's going to happen. But then again, it's like, what, you're locking in the patch to change the card, like, near immediately after the card is even released? And then, like, so you would have locked in this patch change before the bundle was even out? And you have this, so there's so much weirdness, and I'm not trying to be a jerk, but at the same time, it's like, what do you even tell a free-to-play player? What do you tell any player? Because it's like, I mean, we're in a situation where we try to like provide like insight and advice and like help people navigate like where their money's best spent, which cards and how to spend their tokens, because tokens are rarer than they've ever been, and like the collection system still needs work. But at the same time, it's like, you're planning ahead, but we're not even getting help from Second Dinner because they're not telling us the schedule in advance. We're actually depending on the leaks at this point, which is still bizarre in my opinion. And then like, what is a free-to-player to do? Because like at the end of the day, like I don't care what anyone says, free-to-play players are so important to the health of this game. They're so important to the health of any game. And if they can't navigate these waters, literally he's on a jet ski right now. If they can't navigate the waters, then like they're gonna get turned off, and they're gonna just turn off the game, and they're never gonna turn it back on. Because if they feel like they cannot confidently invest the currency that they save up for months, then like what's the reward system?
Yeah.
If the currency and the card collections are the rewards that we're after, if those can't be trusted, then what are you seeking as a reward?
Yeah, and like the thing is, like, it's not like they're saying like, yeah, like we're standing behind it. Like they even said like they went in aggressively, right? And it happened so quickly. That's like you just pointed that out, like the month out thing. To me, and this is tinfoil hat, guys. Who freaking knows? But to me, it's almost so nutty that it's like, I think there was a statement that Pool 3 players getting a new card like Death immediately is a terrible card because of Mobius. Like, this could have been a top-down decision, right? Where it's like, hey, people in Pool 3 are not having a good time, you know, unless they have all the cards. We got to kill it immediately, get rid of it, whatever, right? And then it's also the inverse of it is like, this Mobius isn't going to last. So this is a temporary, like, we're pissed off. I think he's still going to be a playable card the next OTA or whatever it is, right? But that doesn't change the discussion that I think is very healthy. And that is like, what do you do in this situation? Because the track record's been great, but it takes one time for people to be like, wait, there's a hole in the ship, right? There's a hole in the ship. And the hole here is you have to make the free-to-play ecosystem is fantastic in Marvel Snap, in my opinion. I'll back that up all day. You got Shuri, you have Patriot, you have plenty of cards. High Evo's been out forever. You can get that now. That's competitive. It's been competitive. But the problem is when you have like a forced meta into a nerf to a forced meta, I don't want to see that at all. And you've got to have a way of a backup plan when something like this happens. This is my this would be my fourth video talking about my concerns for this. I've spoke up as much as I can. I've immediately messaged them on it. It can't happen. It can't happen. And thank God, I guess it's a Series 4 card, but still, it's still bad, you know?
Yeah, and there's a key point that you kind of mentioned too I want to talk to as well. The idea of like natural metas and manufactured metas.
Yeah.
There are metas that exist because like players are playing cards. This happened, what was it, where Was it Loki that people were like, oh, this card's got to get nerfed? It was like day 2. And me and you were like, no, like let people figure out the counters. Let people make decks that counter Loki decks, and let's give this some time, right? Let's give it some time. It's kind of the same thing here. Whatever becomes the flavor of the week. Now, Marvel Snap moves fast, right? There's tons of different. We were just talking about Hulkbuster being one of our favorite cards, right? Like things are changing. Those are natural shifts. This is a very unnatural shift. If you have these, if these patches are designed to completely upend the meta, which can be good, but there's no player agency there. It's kind of like the God hand, like controlling what we can play and what's relevant. Yeah. It has nothing to do with what the players are designing. It has nothing to do with deck building. Yeah. It's about like what is just not good and what is good. And it's not our agency. It's like a massive patch that just destroys and dismantles a card and basically activates an entire archetype. So if they want Destroy and Annihilus and Toxic to be good, are you telling me do they do the same effect to Luke Cage now? Does Luke Cage only apply to turn 5 and 6 for one turn or whatever it is? Is that what's going to happen? Because that's literally that's what's analogous here. Like if they want Tox to be better, they just do this to Luke Cage, and it's like, what are we even doing now?
Yeah, the more I think about it, they can't even change it OTA because it's ability core. So like even making this like a 1/2, you're not going to play it. I don't think you're going to play this card. Like maybe as a surprise, but it won't earn a firm foundation in your deck. Like it's just not going to happen. The thing that stinks too is like I would say outside of She-Hulk, maybe with 1 or 2 other cards in there, I think he was doing his job fine. Like, I made a discard guide, and I was like, okay, you could go Swarm with it, but you have to know there is the Mobius that can be... I like that. I like that there was this thing to fear, right? Make him a 2/1, and then it's fine, right? Then you have this, like, ever-existing... Because then what you do is you create... In my opinion, I have loved every meta we've gone in and out of, but the all-in Loki meta was not great. Not great. And we're kind of back there. There are plenty of decks that are good right now. Loki, though, it is back with Quinjet, right? Because Mobius, if anything, there was not a Loki list anywhere with Quinjet. And it's back. And so you have this, like, giant discount thing going on, which is why they made Loki 4-cost to prevent the novelty of that, right? So it's like, that's where the confusion is with me, because it's like, all right, we're going back a couple steps, even though we're trying to move forward back to cost reduction. And I don't even think the sample size has been that long. Yeah, we've talked about it. I think it would have been great to see what he looks like. Lesser power, different cost, whatever, instead of just, like, putting him in the grave.
Yeah, because also, like, his play rate's gone down significantly. He was about 33% at peak. Last time I checked, before he was getting nerfed, he was like, what, 18, 19? What's the most important thing in a card game? The cards, right? The cards are the most important thing in the card game. And I think that you have to have confidence when you're spending your collector's tokens that are so unbelievably rare, or you're spending your gold on a bundle, and gold is so hard to come by now. It's not on the collection track anymore, right? It's so hard to get gold, right? And you invest, literally, I'm using the word invest intentionally. You're investing in these cards with the resources that you've worked hard to, even if you're not a free-to-play player, like, it's just hard to access these resources sometimes. And then, like, the card just gets completely destroyed near immediately with no refunds. It's like, come on, man. It's just, it really, at the end of the day, the player experience has to be important. I'm not saying it's like a customer's always right situation, but you gotta do something for your players, because they're the ones that keep the lights on. They're the ones that buy the bundles. They're the ones that play the game. Mm-hmm. And if they're having an awful experience because they can't confidently trust that they're going to spend the resources they've been hoarding, not hoarding, actually they are hoarding them too. They're hoarding them for months in anticipation of Mobiuses and Annihiluses and stuff like that. It's just, it's such a slippery slope.
Yeah. My like last notes on it essentially are, you have, maybe you like Man-Thing because you like Toxic. Maybe you like Discard. Mobius was one that the entire player base was like, you can't miss out on him. You're going to be left behind because what he's going to impact, you're going to at least want to have the option to have him. And then they do this, and that is what sucked so bad. We had months of build-up for the card just for him to die instantly. Was he overpowered, overtuned? I think so. I think it was too good. I think he needed to be back a little bit, but nothing near this kind of state, right? But what I'm going to say, I've railed on them, guys. It can't happen. They've got to fix it. But bar none, call me a shill. I really don't. They've done a great job I think that this was a massive miss. They're gonna have to reap what they sow on it. It's just gonna have to happen. It doesn't happen often. I think Mobius is a very niche case in the fact of like, I've seen the next 3 months, right? We've seen the data mines. There's not a card of there's never been a card. There's very few cards as of much importance as Mobius, right? But if they would have done this with high Evo and everyone got high Evo and then they killed that card to being awful, like awful, it would have been the same effect, right? There's only been a couple cards that everybody's been in on because it's a non-negotiable. And that's kind of it. I trust them to do the right thing moving forward. They've got to rectify this. I think Mobius will get better.
I just think that when you add this together with season drops, series drops,
yeah, right, dude. It's
right. It's just hard. Then you have like season pass cards getting nerfed like repeatedly before they get into the hands of free to play players, which it's like they always get these neutered versions of cards, right? That they can't like. It was even worse during Zabu Silver Surfer, but. Again, I agree with you 100%, and we'll close on that. Like, I think these are good people doing the best they can, but it's also important that we say, like, hey,
they
like,
have
this
to.
is a misfire here.
It's my fourth video saying it. Yeah, like without question, it has to change. It has to be better. Can't have this happen again. The series drops. The lack of communication with the series drops. The spotlights they did change out. Great, glad, cool, but they need to continue that theory up. It's the same thing that happened in December of last year, where it was like this combination of effects of things coming together. It wasn't just one thing. It was like a bunch of things all at once. And you can't have that, right? Can't have that. Got to keep your player base that way. But, yeah, we got to, I'll move forward. And I think it'll be okay at the end of it all. But, Second Dinner definitely knows my thoughts by now. And yeah, can't happen again.
At the end of the day, though, it's still a fantastic game. The game is incredibly fun. And all these things along the periphery, if we can fix them, we're in for a good time. Thank you so much for listening to this edition of the Marvel Snapchat podcast. We appreciate every one of you, all your support, and we'll see you on that next Snapchat episode.